Volume 6 of the Game Changers, and what a fun day this has been to be able to meet all the authors. I know I've met them before, but talk to them on a different level, each one of you on a different level. And it's a day of celebration because we are number one international best-selling authors. And it's so fun to be able to really get into the heart of the stories. And I'm welcome to each one of you, and congratulations for the amazing chapters you wrote for this book series. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you.
So I wanted to start out, what we've done with each of the other calls is we've first read your quote at the beginning and had a conversation about that. And I'm going to start with you, Denise. And the question that I'm going to be asking is, why did you choose that quote, and how does that quote apply to your chapter? And so yours says, "My dark days made me strong," or maybe "I already was strong, and they made me prove it. Emery Lord, when we collided." So tell us the story behind the story of this beautiful quote.
Yeah, well, I found it really interesting when I found that quote. It spoke to me in so many ways, because not only for the story that I wrote, but just in general, what I find is that throughout life, everyone has trials. There's always going to be, something that you're going to struggle with or have to struggle through. And regardless of what that struggle is, we tend to come out on the other side of it. But what coming out on the other side means for each individual and how you deal with it is going to be different for each person. What I liked about the quote is that not only, because I think both sides of the quote are true. Yes, trials and struggles will make us stronger. But on the other side of the quote, it's like, well, maybe that strength was really there. And that struggle really just showed me that I had that strength. So that's why I love that quote.
Awesome. What is the name of your chapter?
The title of my chapter is "She's Having a Seizure."
There's a big story behind that, isn't there?
Yes,
Yeah.
very much.
Well, we'll be diving into that a little bit further in the conversation. Thank you. Thank you for your beautiful chapter. Maria, what your quote, it reads, "You can be anything you want to be if only you believe with sufficient conviction and act in accordance with your faith. For whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve." And it's by Napoleon Hill. So what's the story behind that quote, and why you chose it for your chapter?
So that quote has been life-changing for me. When I first read his book, imagine that you can achieve anything that comes to your mind. I have taken that quote and I have actually lived it, meaning I dove into experiences that normally I would not have as a result of that quote. Now, how that relates to my story in the book is that we can interrupt that flow, right? So even though we have the capability to become anything we conceive of and to live our purpose in life, because really what we conceive of is our purpose. The reason we were born was to make this world better, to make this world different, right? And we interrupt that flow sometimes because of our thinking, because of our mindset. So in my book, I give an example of a horrible year that turned into the best year just by a shift in mindset.
Beautiful. I think that I know that there's not one of us that can go through life without having something that just smacks us upside the head, and nobody has a corner on the market, do we? As far as rough times, and yet it's what we do about it, because some can stay right there and not move forward.
Exactly. And Becky, I just expanded. I just published a book back in February that was called Tsunami to Greatness. And just by the title, my deep belief that every life tsunami that we hit actually promotes us to the next version of ourselves, which is better, stronger. It's on our journey to our greatness, right? So absolutely, you're so, so right.
Beautiful. And for you, Jen, yours is a very short quote, but it's very powerful. Our lives change externally as we change internally. Really goes along with the theme of the whole conversation, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So why did you choose that quote, and how did this apply to your chapter?
Well, I chose the quote because for me, I spent, oh gosh, 4 decades chasing all this external, and it was everything external. And I thought when I achieve these things externally, then things would be better. Then I would be happy. Then I would have that feeling of peace. And it really wasn't until, I guess it's been over the last 13 years or so that I've really started turning that in. And it really becomes when we change inside and we are able to shift internally, our perception shifts and everything outside of us shifts. And my title, the chapter I wrote is I Am. And it really comes with what I'm saying after I am. What are my beliefs? And when I'm believing externally, things really aren't changing. But when I start internal, everything shifts.
Perfect. That's beautiful. Thank you. How about for you, Kirkland? Your title is also, or your quote is also very short. Smooth seas do not make skillful sailors. It's an African proverb.
Yes. And I think the quote is powerful in part because it is so simple and direct. It ties in with what has been said already. I've have learned that when the going gets tough, there are so often the best opportunities to learn, to grow, and prepare yourself for what the opportunity that's being presented and opportunities that will be presented. And my story, Forever Changed, is in some ways my leadership origin story, and locked in through the experience that I described, locked in that belief that, if you're not near your growing edges, if you're safe within a space where there isn't a bit of turbulence, you're not growing. You grow faster, you grow most effectively near your growing edges where perhaps your proficiency isn't as strong, but boy, the opportunities are dynamic and powerful. Mm-hmm. So through rough seas, the skills are developed, life skills are developed, skills that make a difference are developed, I think.
Beautiful. So Kirkland, in writing your chapter, how did it affect you to put pen to paper and really carve out this story?
The experience was multidimensional and had impacted me in a multifaceted way. Reliving it was important because it was important to get into the details, including how it felt, just what was at stake. And that gave me an opportunity to relearn what I learned then. And I've been able to apply it it feels as though I'm applying it every day in fresh new ways.
Every single day.
I'm able to tap into the energy and the learning, and the world's changed a lot since then, but boy, the importance of dynamic learning is it's a gift that keeps on giving. And so re-experiencing it was renewing, it was affirming, and it was practically useful. And to do it as a collaborative, to do it with cohorts, with team members, if you will, adds power, because, man, when you're working with folks who are going deep around their own stories, it encouraged me.
Yes.
It encouraged me a great deal. Very, very powerful experience for me. I appreciate
Very
it.
interesting. I always think that I work with many, many authors, and I think there's just this magic that happens when you actually take the time to dig deep and really bring out the life of the story, the true essence of what you really want to convey. And it really kind of wakes you up, because sometimes we get busy with life and we don't really kind of connect the dots to the things that are happening in life.
Yes.
And when you have to really dig deep and put it into words that are coherent and easy for somebody else to read, makes sense, good flow. There's a lot that goes into that, and it calls for some soul searching.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
And for you, Jenn, how did writing your chapter affect you? I know you were in the last year's Game Changer too, weren't you?
I was. And when the email came out about contributing to it, I knew I wanted to do it, but I had no idea what I was going to write about. And so I was really thinking about that. And I came across the quote, I was just going through, I don't even know what I was doing when I came across this quote, but it was, I am, those two words, the most powerful, for what you put after them creates reality. And I started thinking about that and thought, well, let me try and see if I can write something around that. And what was really interesting is, as I was writing, the words just flowed. And all of a sudden, everything in my life was starting to make sense. And I start out from the powerless thought, I am a disappointment, I am a failure. And from that, it's like, what did I do because of that? And what did I do with my life? And it created a lot of success in my life. Yet what it did then was it was all external. And then all of a sudden, everything started come crashing down. And then I didn't have that foundation internally. So when everything came crashing down, I wasn't sure how I was going to move forward. But as I wrote it and I started seeing how I took the step, it went from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. All of a sudden, it made so much sense. And it also has made me really start looking at currently, what am I saying after I am? Because those are really our beliefs about ourselves. And it's made me very aware of myself, and I'm catching myself now. When I say I am, is that supporting me or is that not supporting me? And then I see it with my kids and what my daughter says. And I'm like, oh my God, no, I don't want you to say that. That's so disempowering. And so then I'm like working with her. And so for me, there was a healing aspect to it. It made sense, but it's the power of it now beyond that is just incredible. I mean, it really has been a life shifting in just writing this chapter and how I'm viewing everything.
Beautiful. I've heard recently, I was reading a little article, and it was on the numbers 3, 6, and 9, and they talk about using the I am and repeating it 3 times, and then later in the day repeating it 6 times, whatever phrase you want to put with that. And then the 9, there's a special symbolism where you do then 9 times the whole I am, and then what you want to say with it. And that there's a certain amount of, I can't remember exactly how they explained it, but it has to do, if you look it up on YouTube, they explain the 3, 6, and 9 and how powerful doing your affirmations that way is because there's a certain something about the numbers putting together. It's really fascinating.
I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. Maria, how about for you?
For me, it was a unique experience, believe it or not, Becky. Even though I just said I wrote a book that was published in February, I took a chance and became very raw in this chapter. And what I mean by that is sometimes when we write, we tell a story, we present the lessons about life. But what I found myself doing in this story is actually writing my thoughts and actually exposing my impatience. There is an exchange that goes on between myself and my mother on the night that she passes away. And I'm in this energy of total impatience. And I expose that, which normally I don't do in my writing. And people could judge that as how horrible is she, right? How horrible could she be? And that's normally not the version of myself that I present to the public, right? It was so freeing. And I'm hoping what the readers get from that is to acknowledge that version of yourself, and that's the way to heal it. If you don't acknowledge it, it never gets healed, right? So, what I got from this is a lot. Like I said, this is the first time that I wrote in such a raw way, exposing myself and throwing myself to the public's judgment, right? But also hoping that that will encourage the readers to look at themselves, look at the things that we do that we shouldn't be doing. And then if an event like, my mom passed away, now I have a lifetime of healing, right? As a result of that choice that I made on that day, not knowing that that was going to be her last day, right? So, like I said, Becky, this has been a wonderful opportunity for all of us. It is so great writing with other authors and with other colleagues. But that was the very special something that this chapter gave me, in addition to the great exposure that we got.
That's beautiful. And you make yourself much, you don't realize sometimes when you are being that raw and vulnerable that you're creating connectivity, because there's so many that can relate exactly to what you're saying, and not too many of us want to admit it. That's we don't want to say, oh, we really messed up,
Thank you.
and all of us do, and that's the human condition.
Yep.
So for you, Denise, your story has a story within many stories, I'm sure. How did it impact you? Because you have also participated in the Game Changer more than once, and this time through, why did you choose to write this chapter, and how did it impact you?
Yes, I have been, and thank you for the opportunity to do so. This particular time was a little different for me. It was harder to figure out what I was going to write about, but at the time I was kind of in the middle of I guess an emotional battle. What was happening in my life, and I couldn't shake it. And I struggled for probably weeks trying to decide, okay, well, what am I going to write? What am I going to write? What am I going to write? But I could not shake this one thing. And I finally said, darn it, I'm supposed to write about this. And that's what I did. And I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to do so, because it wasn't until I got to the end that I realized why I was writing it and what the purpose was for those who get to read it. So yeah, it was a great opportunity.
Beautiful. I know I was in a similar book. It was called Wisdom of the Silver Sisters. There's 45 authors in that book, and I was almost done with everybody's chapters, compiling them before I even wrote mine. They're all there. Everybody's saying, "Where's your chapter?" I can't decide what I'm going to write about. So it was kind of funny, and it all came together. But sometimes you have to really dig deep to figure that out. So Denise, what is it that you do in the world today? What's your area of genius that where you shine?
Well, I am your debt-free college coach, and I help parents here in the U.S. put their kids through college without student loan debt. My mission, I guess, is to flip the student debt statistic that we have here in the U.S. What I found is that through my own struggles with my own kids and in helping them travel that journey, I realized that for about 3 decades, we've been believing things that are simply not true. And it's those false beliefs that are keeping our kids in debt. So my mission is to make all of that go away. Just reveal the truth to families, to parents, to teens, and hopefully educators as well, so that it doesn't have to be a problem anymore.
Beautiful. That's amazing. I wish I'd have known you when my daughters were going to
Yes.
college. You know, the struggles they've had to finally get all that put behind them, and how hard they've had to work to, and how many years it takes them to do that.
True.
And I paid a fair share too. So I was like, wow, this is a lot, Thank you. And Kirkland, what is it that you bring to the world? What's your genius?
Well, my genius. I'll receive that. I have been in human resources for my career, and decades ago became focused on high-performing organizations, high-performing teams, being the catalyst through my presence, generating a collaborative environment where individuals can be their best and the organization can deliver results beyond anyone's expectations. That's what I think we're capable of, and I've worked to develop and refine skills in order to generate and cause high performance. And so right now I'm looking to do that with business owners, primarily as a tool for generating job creation and economic development. I think when individuals are contributing to successful teams and finding ways to be their best, there's wins all around, including for themselves, for their families, for their communities, and for what they give to others. So that's my passion. That's what kind of turns me on, and I kind of want to go 80 hours a week trying to make that happen. So
Wow.
that's what I do.
Well, and I think since COVID, there's been many people that have really redefining themselves and learning
Yes.
new skill sets and coming out of the corporate world and looking at where do they fit and where do they belong and what will they bring to the world too. And your skill set is very needed, so.
I've been able to do that with a number of different organizations and
Awesome.
industries. And so, yeah, I just finally, admitted I enjoy it. And I'm really enjoying the opportunity to kind of do it on my own.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you for what you bring to the world.
Thank you.
And for you, Jenn, what's your genius?
Well, I've spent almost the past 3 decades as CPA, audit partner, consultant, and I have retired from that now completely in order to follow my passion of a couple of things. One, after dealing with going through the suicide of my husband, is helping people bounce back and recover from a significant loss. And that's a passion, as well as helping people live a life that's true to themselves. And really what I want to be able to do is to combine the healing and to be able to use that as a way of, yes, it's a horrible thing, but it's something that can make us stronger, wiser, and we can not just bounce back, but bounce forward into a stronger, wiser version of ourselves.
Well, what I find is remarkable, and thank you for sharing that. When we interviewed last year, from the last year to this year, I see a huge amount of growth on your part, and I'm totally just delighted to see how far you've come and what you've done, because I know you've made big changes too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And for you, Maria?
So I am still in corporate. I work for British Telecom. But my passion um, for the last 40 years, I have been in corporate. But after work, I have been fortunate enough to be able to do something else. For 15 years, I was an instructor. I was previously certified for the Dale Carnegie course, and I taught that for 15 years. Then I became certified with Jack Canfield's Success Principles. But what those experiences gave to me was my realization that I have the capability to influence people to see life a different way, to see life as precious, to give up feeling like a victim, to understand who we are, how we fit into the universe, what we're here to contribute, how to change our mindset from negative to positive, and to actually live our purpose that we're here to accomplish. So my gift is uh, my courses, my speaking opportunities, the books that I write, the chapter that I write, which somehow is consistently the same message, right? Um, Getting people to see their life from a different perspective that is more positive and motivating them to achieve their purpose in life.
Beautiful. Wow. So, the whole title of this book is Game Changers. And we've all had those game-changing moments in our lives that either we stay there or we start to we pick ourselves up and we start to soar. And yet each day is in its own special gift and own special challenges. And as we move along, what may be perfect today may not be perfect tomorrow. But it is what we do about it. Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Well, this is a day to celebrate. I want to thank each one of you. These interviews all day long have been just exquisite. You'll get a recording of it, but thank you for standing up, taking and sharing your stories, and being willing to stand strong in your story. Being a part of that, to the change that our world needs, and being the impactful influencers that you are. So appreciate this very much. For those that are listening or will be listening, be sure and pick up a copy of this amazing book. It's in the comment box below or above. I'm not sure. I'm not on that same screen, but it is in the comment box. If you want to go to Amazon and you type in Iman Okay and look for volume 6 of the Game Changer series, you can find it that way too. And did you have another comment, Kirkland?
No, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure participating in this conversation. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. It's,
So much, Becky.
Yes.
well, appreciate
You've made it such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been this year's Game Changer has been, I know I keep improving too, so it's been a fun process to work through, but all of you have been just a delight, because when I say this is what we need to do, you do it, and there's not been it's just been a nice flow, and I've enjoyed every one of your stories. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, have a good rest of your day and go celebrate.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.